All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Atrium Research's YouTube channel. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Robert Boyd, the CEO of Endurance Gold Corp, which trades under the symbol EDG on the TSXV. We currently have a buy rating and a target price of 50 cents per share on the company. Robert, I hope you had a nice holiday and are looking forward to getting back to it in the new year. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Ben. And it has been a good holiday for me. We've got full family together for the Christmas holiday. So it was a great to recharge and get ready for 2025.
Exactly. And it should be a big year ahead, which we'll get to. So just to kick it off, for those unfamiliar with the Endurance Gold story, maybe it would be great for you to walk us through the deck, give a brief overview of the company, then we can get into some more detailed questions after that.
Sure. Well, Endurance Gold is a venture capitalized junior mining company, and we have several projects, but our key project where we're funding and spending our dollars on right now is the Reliance Gold project in Goldbridge, BC, which is about a 4-hour drive north of Vancouver. So it's very accessible. I may have forward-looking statements, so that's just a cautious statement, but the company is market capitalized around, as you can see here, around 24 million, with 173 million shares issued and outstanding, with very experienced board of directors. But I guess the key point in terms of our capital structure is that insiders own about 60% of the company. I own about 6%. And on a fully diluted basis, it's about 197 million. And that doesn't include about 3 million shares that we just issued since this PowerPoint related to the finalization of ownership on the Reliance project that I just mentioned. At the end of September, our last financials, we had about 4.3, almost 4.4 million in working capital, and we expect to have a healthy working capital as year end gets reported for 2024. So our key project is, as I mentioned, about a 4-hour drive north of Vancouver, drive up through Whistler and up the Pemberton Valley west of Pemberton, and you cross on the Hurley Road into the Upper Bridge River Valley. And the Upper Bridge River Valley is a pretty important infrastructure for hydroelectric power generating facilities in the lower mainland that feed about 7% of the power to the lower mainland of British Columbia. And about 5 kilometers from our Reliance project is one hydroelectric facility, and about 50 kilometers to the east of us is another hydroelectric facility with a big hydro reservoir right in front and underlying the property on the north side, as you can see there, near where we call the Minto Mine. The Reliance property is located about 10 kilometers away from the Braylorne Pioneer Mine, which is the biggest historic gold producer in the province of British Columbia and currently being reactivated by another company. And it produced about 4.2 million ounces between the 1930s and the 1970s, around 17 grams per ton. So a high-grade orogenic type gold system. And we've got a new discovery on a property east of that, 10 kilometers away, called our Reliance property, and shown in the stars, we've got the new discoveries at the Imperial and Eagle Zone. So very well accessible, road accessible year round, power facilities within 5 kilometers of the project, public power, and we can work on this property year round, especially the lower elevations. So it was a discovery stage gold project in a productive camp, and early exploration on the project occurred between 1985 and 2008 with limited focus over about 100 meters of this key structural trend we identified. And we acquired the property in 2019 through an option agreement and systematically expanded the potential to over 2 kilometers with surface channel sampling, progressing to RC drilling and then to diamond drilling. And now we've completed 108 diamond drill holes between 2021 and 2024 with excellent drilling result statistics and results pending right now in about 10 drill holes. Highlights are that we discovered the Eagle zone and expanded that zone about 600 meters away from the original discovery in the mid-80s. And then we've deepened this imperial zone significantly and discovered a new zone at depth, which I'll talk about. And we've now discovered the upper and new lower crown zones, and then the new lower imperial gabbro zone, gabbro-hosted zone has been discovered. So a lot of great success over total of these 108 drill holes. It's over about 1.5 kilometers, and now we've traced it with a vertical continuity of mineralization of about 1 kilometer. So this just indicates the good drill statistics we've got. This shows about up to the end of 2023 with the 15 best drill holes, and then in 2024 we got 2 additional really good holes. So about 17 holes out of that 108 have better than 72 gram meter hits here in these intersections, and then of the total drill holes of the 108, about 70% of them, just around 70% of those drill holes have better than 10 gram meter hits, and we don't include it in that kind of classification unless it's at least 3 meters and 3.3 grams per ton. So this is a strong linear showing what we've identified. It's a strong alteration, iron carbonate alteration associated with this strong linear, and the key mineralization we've discovered is in this imperial and eagle area, over 1.5 kilometers of strike from just about here up to this what is labeled Eagle South on this trend. Dipping off to this, we're looking south here, so it's dipping off to the west. There's the Steep Creek Valley, and then there's other linears that are gold bearing like Treasure Shear, Camp Creek Shear, and several others which I'll touch on later. So there's lots of additional exploration potential on these parallel structures, but all of our drilling activity is focused on this one key structure. This is Carpenter Lake, which is actually the BC Hydro Reservoir behind one of these power facilities. Just a plan map showing our drilling. See, it's a tree-covered area. Active logging through this area, as you can see. It's an industrial camp for logging activity, mining activity, and of course, hydroelectric facilities. So this is a longitudinal, just showing you that trend of 1.5 kilometers where we've got our encouraging drill intersections with the highest ones in purple, better than 50 gram meter type hits, with the best showing a great population here of intersections greater than 10 gram meter hits, with visible gold scattered around in several of these intersections. And the most significant, one of the more significant intersections was the one we just recently reported on December 16th, where we got a new lower imperial discovery on a new parallel zone below imperial, that parallel to it, that averages about 7.2 grams over 8.3 meters. As you can see, we're still pending on these holes in white, pending on 10 holes, which are helping us to give a higher confidence to some of the drilling up at Eagle, which represents some of our highest proportion of best intersections so far in our drilling activity. This just shows you what the channel sampling at Eagle discovered it on surface on old roads, actually, that were never sampled, with intersections in channel sampling like 5.89 over 31 meters, 4.8 grams over 23 meters. And we followed that over about 550 meters of strike and chased it down about 100 plus 150 meters of higher density drilling down dip in this area. So outcropping, new discovery, never recognized previously. And so this is why it wasn't recognized. It's basically fine-grained breccias, which are sometimes narrow quartz stibnite veins, and when it oxidizes on surface, it's just kind of orange cruddy rock, and it's not veins. And so the old-timers hunting in this camp have been after the veins. So drilling statistics show pretty good 40 out of the 84 holes with better than 10 gram meters, really good intersections in the RC drilling. And that progressed to our diamond drilling now with 98 holes where we've got assay results, with 63 of those 98 with better than 10 gram meter and 17 of those 98 with those excellent intersections I showed on that earlier graph. But this is an indication of some of the intersections we got. 15 0.7 grams over 24.8 meters. And these are very consistently mineralized. For instance, that intersection, every 1 to 2 meter sample in that was either 4 grams to 37 grams per ton over that full interval. So when you get into these breccias, they're quite homogeneous. And just that same chart again showing these high percentage of good hits, showing it's a strong orogenic gold system. And just to give you this, I say the gap currently being drilled, but this is the area where we've reported some of our results. But I just wanted to show you this to give you an indication of this new where the section is in this imperial zone, where we've now chased it with a drill hole here at depth. And it's the deepest drill hole on our property to date. This is about 400 meters below surface here, but with the vertical relief in this area, the deepest intersection here with the highest intersection up at Eagle gives us about a 1 kilometer vertical extent. And the imperial zone, we've now continued to hit this down dip here with this hole was targeted to step out about 180 meters down dip from this other intersection, the imperial zone, and did successfully hit it and got a 3.5 gram over 6.7 meters. We continued that hole and pushed it down due to not only the stronger alteration up here, but continued alteration down the hole. So we kept the hole going and picked up a new, now what we call the lower imperial zone discovery, where we had a zone of the 7.2 grams over 8.3 meters. Within a wider zone of 4.5 grams over 15.3 meters. All of this 15.3 meter zone is hosted in gabbro. And gabbro is basically the intrusive equivalent of this mafic volcanic pile. And it's in a classic orogenic setting here with sediments in contact with mafic volcanics and structural zone, which is hosting the mineralization. And more significant is that this lower imperial zone looks like it may not have been tested with some of our shallow holes up here at Imperial. It looks like it has some analogies to some of the mineral intersections we've got in terms of where it is in the structural setting, that we've got the Treasure Shear as well as Diplomat and some of the Eagle intersections. So there is indications elsewhere that there is this lower mineralization, and partly one of the reasons we drove that hole deeper as well. This just shows you some of the cross sections up at Eagle, where there's that intersection near that Reliance Fault, and some indication of deeper intersections here. But these are down about 80 to 100 meters, where the intersection we got at Imperial is about 200 meters vertically below this upper zone. So what we have are these two zones, and then sometimes these big blowouts that link up those zones and drive some good mineralized intervals, including some of our better intersections are up here. Our widest intersection drilled a little bit down dip at the time as we were probing the system, about 3 grams over 130, not 40 meters or so. This is the structural setting, classic orogenic type setting, where we see an extensional kind of environment where these linking features. And we feel that the package we're dealing with, of 100 to 200 meter wide package, has this extensional features within it as well. What's unusual about this system, it's a high level orogenic system. So we have an antimony signature with it, and the mineralizations in the form of breccias and brecciated veins rather than actual veins themselves. And you can see situations here. We've got this gold with arsenopyrite in a quartz breccia or cataclastite, and this intersection ran 6.2 grams over 0.85 meters, and another one here where we have this coxcomb quartz breccia, which it's a later sort of almost epithermal type textures, but in an epizonal orogenic setting, where that one ran 14 grams over 2 meters, just showing you the types of textures we get within these structural zones. Indication of a brittle deformation regime rather than a ductile or brittle ductile regime, which you typically get in orogenic settings. When you get up higher, you get into the stockworks breccias and in the brittle domain, and you'll often have the breccias associated with these higher level orogenic settings. There is definitely areas where we get visible gold. This is one intersection reported this year in hole 93, where we got about 147.5 grams per ton gold over 1 meter, and that repeats itself with both standard and screen fire assays. More visible gold, so you can see sometimes these vein systems also carry free gold, but there's a lot of fine gold in this system because of the high level orogenic nature. More breccia pictures just showing you the nature of these kind of breccias, where you can get stuff that doesn't particularly look super encouraging, but you get 27 grams over two meters in these kind of breccias, 16 grams over 2 meters, and some of these things with the coxcomb quartz. And we see analogies to what we're dealing with here is in these high level orogenic settings to the Fosterville analogy, where they started with a high antimony content near surface. As it transitioned at depth into a more traditional orogenic system, there was coarser gold, and that is a model that seems to be developing around some of the success at Fosterville with this kind of variation at depth. So the key exploration success we've had is on this Royal Shear trend here between Imperial and Eagle. That's our geochem anomaly, and we have a similar geochem, weaker geochem, but still geochem associated with the Treasure Shear. And this is the whole structural package that's of interest in this area. But we have other geochem anomalies with the potential for multiple other structures on this property carrying gold. Often these are associated with antimony as well. And some at Kelvin, we've got 24 gram type grab samples, Enigma with 9 to 10 gram type grab samples, and lots of work that needs to be done. These have really been essentially undrilled and unevaluated with drilling. And this just highlights where we see the structural trends indicating at least 7 subparallel regional structural gold antimony prospects. And we've made an effort in the consolidation of this camp, which we just finalized with a final payment of $3 million and 3 million shares and 200,000 cash, that finalized our 100% ownership in these structural trends. And this is just unusual, but sometimes this antimony is late, so it can often have coarse crystalline features with this stibnite that we see associated with these scenarios. So essentially our 2004 program's completed now, with about 7,300 meters of drilling completed. We're in the process of revising our 3D model now with all the data to date, and some geochemical surface sampling that we did this year that we feel is opening up trends and parallel structures. We've yet to report on that. We've got to still complete the reporting of our 10 drill hole results, which we hope to have out early here in January. And of course, community consultation is an important part of what we're doing, and we want to apply for a drill permit to bring in these other parallel structures off to the east and bring those into our future program. So conclusions: we got an outstanding new discovery in a historically productive multi-million ounce orogenic gold camp. Wide pervasive iron carbonate sericite alteration and brecciation in an orogenic setting, which seems to have analogies to Fosterville and some of these recent Newfoundland discoveries. The model provides potential for a gold test system with depth continuity proven with this deeper drilling that we've just done. And we've got a high percentage of hits, which is really high for an orogenic gold system. So we're pretty pleased with that. It's indicating a strong gold system. That Eagle Zone discovery, where we got a tighter definition of drilling, looks like it averages about 5.2 grams over about 9.6 meters of arithmetic average. And we've chased that down dip by about 150 meters down dip for the more a better frequency of drilling, which we've tried to fill in some gaps with some recent holes. That 30-meter wide mineralizing trend confirmed at Imperial, but also the deep zone that we just picked up at the lower Imperial. and new mineralized trends now are developing as high priority drill targets. So this just shows you what the property that we expanded with staking, but now as part of our work, we've also completed the full acquisition of all this property. So we now own 100% subject to royalties, which we have buyouts on or rights of first refusal. So that's our story right now, and happy to answer any questions, Ben, if you need to elaborate on anything for your benefit and your.
Yeah, no, thank you for walking us through that, and you answered most of my questions, but I think just going back one slide forward, actually, on the 2024 plans there. So reflecting on the year as we move into 2025, maybe you can talk about what your goals were for 2024, targeting some of these zones at depth, and then, did you achieve those goals? And then we can get into 2025. I know you haven't released your plans for 2025 yet, but maybe you can talk about a few key sort of priorities for you as we move into the next year.
Yeah, well, our goal was to drill a little bit more than we did this year. We got off to a late start and early snow that pushed us out. We tried to catch up with a second drill, which did help us a bit. But this drilling and the success that we've got in our drilling has only highlighted the potential for this project to continue to be justified for additional drilling, both on the Royal Shear Trend itself. Is still open to the southeast at depth, and we did do one hole where we've probed off to the northwest with one hole late in the season this year, and we still got to report on those results. So all of these will justify that we have to get back and do more work. We also want to try to get the 3D modeling finalized to help us towards delivering an understanding of what we have to do to deliver a resource model on this project. We know we've probably got enough drilling in one area to come up with some firm attitude, but a lot of our drilling this year was stepping out on these intersections, and it's really important to understand the scale of those step outs. This deep intersection, for instance, we had as about 350 meters away and down dip from the lower crown intersection, 100 and almost 200 meters away from any other previous intersection down dip and along trend. But a lot of our drilling this year was step outs of a minimum 80 to 100 meter type step outs to see if the system really opens up and before we can go back and do the high confidence of internal drilling to deliver a high confident compliant resource. But the important part of our system was to demonstrate that this system could be big, and then we'll be doing our modeling here to understand what we have to do next to deliver a high confidence resource on the project. But we also want to continue to explore the system and open up things, especially near surface, new discoveries near surface, which we think exist there, just haven't been fully evaluated with the drill hole, with the drill machines historically or even by ourselves. So.
Great.
So so we'll be back doing that kind of work in 2025. That's the plan, and additional types of studies that are required, the drill permit to advance and advance all the Olympic area to the drill stage, and then continue to build and grow their system significantly. So.
Great. Yeah. And I did just want to highlight and flag what you mentioned in your presentation on the average grade and width of the drill holes that you've done to date was 5.2 grams per ton, gold over 9.6 meters. And, we're not talking about a potential resource where the grade would be 1 gram per ton like you're seeing with a lot of these most recent deposits that have been producing resources. Yours will be much higher than that, and therefore, a future operation will have that much more profitability, and I think that will, stand out in the marketplace when that time comes. And so we're working with you on that. Obviously, it's quite a high grade deposit at surface and extending to depth, as you mentioned. So with that, I did want to mention, you did already talk about this a little bit, but the cash 4.36 million as of the end of September, that's come down, I'm sure, a little bit, but it sounds like you're in a pretty strong cash position as you head into the 2025.
Yeah, we expect a working capital in excess of 2 million for year end. We don't, we're not going to get into hard numbers at the present time because we still just rolling up the numbers from year end. So, this is where we anticipate that we've got sufficient to get back at looking at a program, especially achieving the modeling activities and everything like that we want to do to justify the next stages on the project. So that's, and to come back to your point about the grade value, yeah, that's part of the reason why we only include intersections that have at least 3 meters of 3 grams, because we anticipate that there will potentially be some open pitable type resource on this and that near surface Eagle zone. But this system's going to be sustainable and built based on its ability to grow and be a long-lived type operation. And so we want to make sure that whatever we open up and increase the size of the system, that we hope we can do it at what would be a decent underground cutoff grade in excess of 3 grams. But it would have to average probably better than that to justify it. But so far, we're seeing some of these zones are quite wide, which open the potential for higher grade, higher productivity underground mining methodologies, since they're wider zones. Braylorn itself traditionally mined fairly narrow but high grade veins. We see potential here for similar high grades, but because of the brecciated nature of these cataclast type breccias, they can be quite wide, and that Eagle zone, as I mentioned, averages about 9 meter. Arithmetically averages about 9 meter intersection there over that 550 meter strike.
Great, yeah, and then I guess the last thing I just wanted to touch on was the catalyst as we move forward here. You mentioned there's still 10 holes with assays outstanding, so that might be 1, maybe 2 press releases of drill results within probably January, early February, and then you dive into your plans for 2025. Did I miss anything there?
Yeah, there's we've been doing a little bit of surface work, so we might want to touch on what we've accomplished with that in terms of opening up additional potential on the project, where that potential may be, so that. And one of the other things we're doing is, we get a lot of people asking us about antimony because it's a topic of interest by people. We want to focus on the rock value of this system being gold, but we might touch on providing a little bit of an update on antimony and how it affects this thing, and is there anything we see that gives us indications of it supporting this epizonal orogenic gold model that we're testing, because we do have areas where you can have some very high grade antimony, always with gold. There's about a 0.3 positive correlation between gold and antimony in our project, so they are related, definitely related in our system. So we feel if we move forward in this system, we maybe have the potential to generate a byproduct antimony concentrator of some kind.
Very interesting. So yeah, just to run the viewers through a quick summary there, it excites me because there's so many different things going for the project. It's open along strike in both directions. You're opening it up at depth, hitting new zones with the most recent press release, quite deep, extending those zones. And then also the parallel zones, of course, there's a ton of potential across these different trends, like you just mentioned, and then even some upside with some byproduct metals as well. So with that, Robert, was there anything else you wanted to mention?
Well, I think that's an update on what we're doing, and just stay tuned. This is a good project. It's in a great location, accessible year round, and we've got cheap green energy right nearby, right? And in fact, that hydroelectric facility is in the process of being prioritized for a major upgrade by BC Hydro. So it could generate even more power than it's generating now. So
Great. Yeah, another tailwind.
yeah,
So with that, Robert, thanks for walking us through that today. We look forward to seeing what you guys can do in 2025 beyond a couple more batches of assays. And then for our followers, if you haven't seen our research on endurance gold, you can find that all on our website at atriumresearch.ca. And again, Robert, thank you for your time.
thank you, Ben.